Welcome to Dental Unscripted. Where Mike Dinzio and Paula Quinn break down the practice ownership journey, one episode at a time. Starting up, buying, and running a successful dental practice.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dental Unscripted. It is podcast day, so if you are on Instagram, you're just seeing us talk all day on podcasting, which is super cool. We got some cool topics today. We just finished one that was really practice ownership driven, and today, and this one is going to be more about debunking this idea that startups are scary. Of course, naturally, startups are scary, but ownership should just be scary. They're hard in different ways, and we're going to talk about all kinds of things as it relates to startups and how to be successful in them financially, right out of the gate, so that you can make it happen for yourself if startup is the way to go. Acquisitions are equally as scary, I promise you. We could talk a little bit about that, but before we get too far into the topics and the conversation, I want to say good morning to Paula Quinn. Paula, what's up, man?
Good morning. Not much.
Hey, how you doing?
Just hanging with you now, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Here we are talking to people on their way to work, and if you are, I hope we motivate you. But as always, too, I just like to remind you guys to like, subscribe, follow, do all the things. You could even make comments, and we'll discuss those questions online. So if you're listening to this on Facebook or LinkedIn, and you make a comment, you literally can ask us a question live, which is super cool. So pay attention to the schedule. I think we promote that. And so, yeah, if you're interested in the topic, join us. With that being said, let's just get right into it. Today's topic, again, is debunking a scary startup. And I'm proud to say that Next Level has been a part of a handful of $1 million starts. It doesn't happen very often, and I don't want to say that is the guarantee, or if that is definitely what happens every time. But it is possible. And so, and how is that possible? We should talk about today, because startups can be, like I said, we take a lot of calls from docs, and they're like, I'd rather buy. It's all here all day long. I'd rather buy. And the one reason why they would rather buy is for one reason. What do you think it is, Paula? Why would people say that to me all the time? I'd rather buy.
Gosh, I don't know, but my guess would just
Why did you want to buy? Not start.
Well, it's already there. The shell's there. Hopefully the people are there. It's already a running business. You get to look at what it's been profiting, and you kind of hope that you're profiting the same thing immediately. There's immediate cash flow.
That's it right there. It's the immediate. Okay. It's the immediate. I mean, there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of trick question. I was like, I don't know.
No trick question. And that's the main one right there, is the money.
Okay.
And I that's the funny thing is a lot of clients of ours buy practices that aren't making any money, or not making much money. Let's just say that. And those are basically startups. And so the value of buying a company, in my opinion, is, to all the things that Paula said, is having a company that's already set up, already employees, already making money, and you get the opportunity and the luxury of just kind of plugging in and making a strong impact to the patients and the team. And hopefully it's on somewhat of an easy thing. But as you and I know, Paula, that's not the case. It's not easy. Acquisitions are not easy. And I think everybody thinks there's just the one benefit of cash flow.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about startups today. And I want to like kind of break this down as to how to do a startup and not be so scary. And there's like 3 or 4 things. There might be more as they pop into my head, but there's like 3 or 4 things that make startups not very scary. And the first one, right out of the gate, is choosing a location where there's a need for you as a startup. And I think like a lot of our clients, they call me and they say, I want to do a startup, but they want to be in the same place that everybody's already at. It's one of the most competitive markets already. Like here in Seattle, it's like Bellevue, Issaquah, Kirkland. Like that's where, guess what, folks? That was hot 20 years ago. Not really, but it was up and coming 15 years ago. That's when you wanted to go there. You want to catch that growth on the upswing, not a plateau, and but I think it's like, and Paula, this is why you wanted to buy your practice. In some ways it was kind of a startup. In some ways your practice was kind of startup, and the number one reason why you wanted it, I think, was do you know why, where I'm going with this?
It was a mile within my house.
Yeah. That's it. So you're reading them in my mind. And that's the thing is like people are, dentists, you guys are making good money. You're making good money. You live where you live. Your kids are going to the school in that community. You have a lifestyle. And so now you want a business within that lifestyle. Well, people don't typically live in like gentrified areas. Not so, like if you're a dentist, you're making good money. You're probably not in an area that's up and coming. You're probably living in a nice area. And guess what? Those nice areas already have dental offices. And so if you plant your business as a startup right there, get your boxing gloves on. And I think that's where the stigma of a scary startup comes from, because if you start a business in a very saturated area, you're gonna, Paula, you've helped me with these startups. This is where the stigma's at. It's like, how difficult is it to find new patients? Very hard, right?
Yeah.
If you want to share a story, just please, Paula, interrupt me. But like, because I could go on a rant here for an hour probably. But like, that's probably not the best startup unless you're totally in a situation where your partner can support you and you've got a lot of money and all the things and you're good with slow growth. Then that could be an opportunity for you. But just have the expectation that it's going to be super slow growth. If you need to support your family day one, you don't have a spouse, partner, whatever, that has a really great job, and you need fast growth, guess what? We got to go to a fast growth area. And so I'm debunking a startup, because if you're willing, the $1 million starts that we did, two or three of them went into areas that was desperate. I'm talking desperate for another dentist. There was one dentist serving like 8,000 people. They could have literally put a building up and just said dentist and did no marketing, and they would have and just crushed, like literally crushed. That people driving by and, oh, new dentist, I think I'll go there.
Oh, I think they were in some instances they were waiting. They knew they were coming and they're trying to schedule 6 months out, like,
yeah,
when are you opening? When are you opening? So
yeah, and you were helping them do that. Like, how do we schedule these people when you're getting a flood of people? That's just not atypical. And then there's everything in between. So there's like the really competitive areas, and then there's just like the real high demand. So that's number one, debunking a scary startup. It's not so scary when there's 8,000 people and there's one dentist in that little town. That's not scary, guys. Let's just do a startup
but
there.
when there's 8,000 dentists in a 1 mile radius. That's when it's scary.
Totally different.
I
Totally
feel
different.
like it here in Arizona sometimes. I'm like, dentist,
Yeah.
dentist, dentist.
Mm-hmm. And to that point, Paula, like in some markets, it is very more competitive than others, you know. And then the other thing is the high growth. So I'll just touch on that. So high growth, you know, if an area right now doesn't need another dentist, but the area in general has really high growth, you could need another dentist in the future. And I think a lot of real estate people chase this. This is where we get into trouble with startups, where a real estate agent knows the area really well. And they're like, oh my God, this is going to be the best place. Oh my gosh, let's get you right here. And 2 blocks this way, they're putting this development in. And 3 blocks this way, they're putting that. Well, no one lives there today and probably won't live there for another 3 years, because developments, if you don't know, take forever. And by the way, some developments don't even work. Where Paula lives, I think she was telling me this mega master plan Marriott, who buku dollars was coming in, and didn't they pulled the plug? They're not doing it now.
I mean, it's somewhat built, and allegedly they pulled the plug.
And
it wasn't the Marriott. It was something even. It was like the Ritz, or I think, wasn't it? I thought it was something even bigger than I mean, not that Marriott's not just as big, but I think it was something even
bigger,
more upscale.
That's the point, is like development is very difficult to really plan on. And so here you are assuming that you put your shop up together and you're like, oh, this is going to be great. We've got all these high growth areas, and then things fall apart, recessions, COVID, a virus comes out and knocks it. You just don't know. So your plan has to make sense today and in the future. So that's all things. So
wouldn't you say though, Michael, like, you know, and because you do the marketing for them and stuff like that though, and obviously we never know what marketing is going to 100% work, but I just know, like with my practice, we kind of talked about it being a startup, a quasi startup. Obviously it had existing patients, but it was a very low volume. And there was a dentist right next door to me. There was one business in between ours. And I think a lot of mine was putting in the work, going around to businesses, customer service, patient experience, whatever you want to call it. Like, I think you can set yourself apart.
No. I mean, I love that you're saying that, because that does debunk a startup is doing all of that. I think what you're describing, Paula, customer service, tight systems, networking, doing all the things, that's the X factor. That's the X factor that can get you from average to impeccable. When I speak to our clients and random people, I don't
assume they're not.
I assume that they're average. Because if I coach people on impeccable, I'll get somebody in trouble. Now I can immediately tell the clients that call me that will have that. Immediately can tell. But I still coach them conservatively. I'll put them in an area. But to Paula's point, all of you considering startup have the ability to have the X factor. I could give you just as many examples of startups that went into very competitive areas that crushed it, just as many as I could tell you had people that didn't crush it that were in areas that needed a dentist. Why? It's the X factor. So yeah, no, that's a great question. And I want to define that. Like when I talk to you on these podcasts, I'm talking about a very blanket statement of everybody kind of in the middle. But if you are the X factor, you will do even better. So location, we talked about a lot of demographics. Location matters. That's debunk 1. Debunk 2 is keeping your job. Keeping your job. So here's the deal. Like when I look at people's projections for startups and I look at the success our startups have in the first year to 2 years, They typically make somewhere between 80 to 100,000 in profit their first and sometimes second year. So nobody's getting rich off of 100,000 as a dentist. The average dentist, statistically speaking, is like 120 to 140. That's the average across the nation, right? And so making 80 to 100 is not enough. But that's your startup, your first year, very first year. You can do $80,000. So to debunk the scary financial part, if you work somewhere else and make 50,000 part-time and you add that to the number I just gave you, now we're talking about the average income all of a sudden.
But can I afford all the loans I just took on? I already have student debt. Now I've got
That's the question. That's a great question. If you can support your lifestyle at 150, 180, 150 to 120 to 150. If you can support your lifestyle off of that, then the startup is not scary financially, because you can work and make 50, and then you can work at your startup and make 80 to 100. It's kind of the range. So you're right, Paul. A lot of our clients that make 300 as an associate job working for the man in a turn and burn location, just beat down, wore down. They're really busy doing big procedures. Whatever your case is, it's going to be difficult to go down from 300 down to 150. That's a good point. But I think a lot of people are surprised that they can make 80 to 100 their first year. I think that's surprising to people. So that's debunking number 2, is you can make money and will make money. You won't make it within the first 6 months, by the way, but you will make that in the last 6 months if you follow all of the rules and the game plan. So don't quit your job is debunk number 2. Paula, when you're coaching people and you have our clients on the back end, how many of them come to you and say, I think I'm going to quit my job?
Oh, 90%.
So even our clients are not following the rules.
No, I will say, if you have been forced, when they're honest with their employer, and unfortunately the employer chooses a different route. But I would say majority of them fight it. They usually say Michael said to, but blah, blah, but they also
Michael
said
said
don't hire a hygienist, but I have this perfect hygienist.
Well, we're going to get to that. Team is about
I say no,
deep.
But I will say a majority want to quit.
And that makes sense, doesn't it? That makes sense because
you just had a new baby and you're babysitting somebody else's. And
exactly.
You're leaving your baby alone while you go take care of somebody else's.
Yeah, that's right. So to put that into context a little bit more, and I love this conversation, because you go from an associate position where typically you're really busy seeing, I don't know how many patients per day. Sometimes you're working 2 columns and you're also seeing exams. So you're super busy as an associate, and you're probably making really good money as seeing all these patients. And then that's what your expectation is of the startup, is seeing 8 patients a day, 10 patients a day as a start. That's not the expectation, folks. You'll be lucky to get 3-4 patients a day the first 4 or 5 months until the first hygiene cycle. In the first 6 months, you're going to be lucky to see 4 to 6 patients per day. So you're not busy at all. Yeah, they're lucky. I know. That's what I'm saying. They're super lucky. That's hitting a grand slam in marketing, hitting a grand slam. And so I'm thinking, Paula, I remember when I talked to you early on when we first started our business relationship, and you were even calculating your hours, and I was kind of hearing you talk. I don't know if you remember this conversation, but you're a hygienist, you were a consultant, you were also a speaker, so you were making money in all different kinds of ways. That's like a dentist. They're working at this associate job, and they also have their startup. And we actually have a client, Dr. K, just like this. he's working 5 days a week, but he's not busy. Right. And so I'm like, dude, consolidate your days and go make money every single day, not a little money every day. You're making big money every day. But yeah, you're right. You have to, does that make sense? So like you, Paul, I was like, dude, when you speak, when you're doing this, do this, but like every hour matters. You are your knowledge, your hands, doctors, same thing. Your knowledge, your hands need to always be working, whether it's in your office or someone else's office. You need to be earning dollars and not sitting around twiddling your thumbs. Any comment to that? Because Paula, you see them in the first 3 months when they're scheduling and they want to quit. And I get that because they're so excited about their new business, but like, it's just not there yet. It's just not there yet, especially in the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And can you vouch that as far as the schedule goes? That's about what it looks like, or worse?
Yeah. I mean, and I would say even some get really excited because the first week people have been waiting on them to open. So they've got like this little, maybe 10 patients they've got to get on the schedule, but it does taper off for a while. So don't, they're ready. They're like, oh, or even better. Yeah. I have 30 patients that have inquired. I got to get them all on the schedule. Do you have any on the schedule? No. Okay. Well, then you don't have 30 patients. I walk Shark Tank all the time and the funny thing they always say is, well, we went to this convention and we had all kinds of interest. And they always say, but do you have a purchase order in hand? And they're like, well, no, and they're like, okay, then you don't have a deal. Like it's not
no deal,
not real until they're on the schedule.
Mm-hmm. I know. Even I talked to another one of our startups yesterday, Carolyn, and I won't say last names, and she's super excited because she's beating the projections that I set up for her.
I know who you're speaking of, and she's a firecracker. I mean, she is.
And she's beating the projection.
She puts herself out there on a daily basis.
But the funny thing about the most recent conversation with her is she's like, I'm interviewing for hygienists. I'm like, what are you doing? And she goes, well, I'm just look at these numbers. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But you just hit X in collections and you're just finally making some money now. So now you want to go back into the red by hiring a hygienist. And she's like, whoa, right. And I talked her off of not, I'm like, well, what's your schedule look like in the future? Well, it's about the same. So she's seeing this projection, but it's not there. It's a false projection. And the bottom line is there, I mentioned that you can make 80 to 100, but the last debunk is managing your expenses as a startup. And it's not in the way that you think. Like you might be thinking,
you or the audience.
The audience. I know Paula, but like everybody is like, well, I can't afford that software, and I can't afford that marketing, and I can't afford this, and that. Operationally, they say they can't, and so they're and as you should be, very, very concerned about the monthly costs of the business. But the one expense that oftentimes gets screwed up by startups that aren't our clients, or even our clients try and they fight, is what, Paula? What? How do you get upside down and profit in a startup? You know the answer already. What's the biggest expense?
Team.
So when you are coaching our clients and they're thinking, what do they think? Actually, I want you to kind of lead us here because they're probably thinking X amount of days and this many employees. What do they all say?
Oh, they usually at least want 4, if not 5 days.
So they want to open 5 days.
And then if they're not going to be open, they at least want their front office to sit there, the 8 hours a day that they're not open to maybe answer the phone. And then they want to have 2 dental assistants, a front office, and a hygienist. So they're thinking 3 or 4 people right out the gate.
Right. And they don't know any better because of where they just came from. But again, if you remember what I just said in the episode earlier, you're going to be lucky if you saw 3 to 4 patients per day. So here we are. If you did it your way, guys, you would be open 5 days a week, seeing one patient a day because you're open 5 days. It's the same patient count. So you're seeing one patient a day. You have a hygienist sitting around, 2 dental assistants sitting around, and
So
a
we're
front office.
talking 50, 100 plus, yeah, at least $100 an hour. At least
$100 an hour. Yeah.
That's not employee taxes, that's just the
And
hourly wage.
That's the hourly wage, and on an annual basis, you're probably close to monthly you're probably close to 30 to 40,000 a month, just in the overhead there, and times that by 12, and there's your annual. There's all your profit, by the way. It's gone. Poof, profit's gone. So debunk. Number 3 is manage your expenses. So what is your game plan, Paula, day one, from a scheduling and hiring perspective to keep wages down?
2 people. My wish is both people cross-trained. Worst case scenario, front office plus a cross-trained dental assistant.
Yeah.
So 2 people. Doctor does hygiene for at least the first 6 months.
What? Hygiene?
You can do it. You can do it. And so, if I had my way, they'd be open 2 days a week. But
I know
3 days is about the minimum I can get them. So we
Yep.
usually compromise on 3 days a week.
Yep.
That's where I usually get them. 2 employees, 3
Mhm.
days a week, and quite frankly, try to manage that.
If you have all your employees in the
schedule
morning,
an 8 a.m. and a 4 p.m., try to build from lunch outward so that if you have to shorten the day, we can go home.
yeah,
There's outsourcing people who can answer the phone and things like that will actually be more attentive than an employee sitting around for 8 hours with nobody there to manage and monitor that. So
yeah. So to that point, guys, like what I would like for you to see listening to this podcast is that, your loan payments, your rent payment, your software payment, your lab payment, your supply, all of these payments are relative on a single digit percentage of expenses. I said that kind of complicated, are very small expenses compared to wages. And if you don't control your wages, you won't make 80 to 100. You won't. And so I think you said something that was interesting, Paula, that I wanted to point out, is that even the first month is not indicative to how it's going to be in month 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Mm-mm.
The first month is always bigger. Why? Because I push our clients to do all that stuff to get some kind of VIP list, get some kind of backlog of patients. So that first month and even the first week is really busy, and they're thinking, oh, I'm open. This is sweet. I usually see collections pop, and then it goes back down, and then it pops back up again because it stabilizes. And your marketing's kicking in by month 4, 5, and 6. So I would hope that month 4, 5, and 6 start looking pretty regular. But month one is like exciting. 2 is super depressing. 3 is you want to jump off of a bridge. 4 is a recovery from not jumping off the bridge. 5 is probably like, okay, I might actually make it. And 6 is like, holy shit. All of those people that came in the first month, we reappointed. So let's call it 30 people from the first month. And then we got 30 more new patients. So now we're seeing double the patients that we saw in 1 month. And they're like, oh my God, we actually might make it. And so that's how it goes. And Paula always has to get the people that want to jump off the bridge. So debunking the startup on the financial level is great. Now, those are the top 3. I do have 2 more. So I have 5. 2 more.
It's 30 minutes in. So
I know. And I'm not going to go into so much detail here because those first 3 are probably the most important.
Okay.
But the last 2 that I will throw out as far as debunking a startup is we negotiate your lease to give you lots of flexibility in the beginning. So your lease only gets more expensive the longer it goes out. So in the beginning, you're going to have a lot of payment flexibility. In a lot of ways, you're going to have free rent. You have free rent in your first few months if the project's controlled. So free rent. You'll be able to cash flow and make more money if you don't have rent, I promise. That's number one. So number 4 is flexibility in the lease that lets you be able to do this at a much lower expense in the first year. The 5th one is lending. The lending debunk is probably equally as important as all the others. And that is getting enough money. If you undercapitalize your project, you're going to be very stressed. Everybody's like, I don't want to borrow that much. I don't want to borrow that much. You have to borrow as much. Actually, Paula, when you bought your practice, what did I tell you?
You made me borrow.
How much more?
I think it was 75 or 100
more than probably you wanted. And you were like, what? Thank God you listened to me, but you didn't realize it until probably month 2, 3 that you abso-freaking-lutely needed that, didn't you?
Yeah, it's not fun watching your checkbook, payrolls around the corner and you don't have that in there. It is not a you got to be a pretty even-headed person not to explode. Let's just put it that way.
It's that payroll. We just talked about it. And so like if you don't borrow enough money,
well, you can push not that maybe not a bank loan, but you can push I mean, you don't want to, but you can push a vendor. You can't team. You have to pay them. Like you cannot be late.
Your payroll. Yeah.
I mean, right. Yeah. I mean, even if you're late on a loan, yeah, you're going to have repercussions and that's going to really suck, but you can't not pay team. They're going to walk out. Like they're not going to.
No. Yeah. The team you have to, no, it's exactly right. So control their hours because their expectation is to get paid on those hours.
Yeah. At first you're all happy paying like, oh, they worked 40 hours this week. No big deal. Well, after that you do that and you watch it, you're like, okay, everyone out the door.
Get the hell out of here. You finish your notes tomorrow morning.
I'll finish your notes for you. Just
exactly. So that fifth thing is get enough money, number 1. And number 2, there are banks out there that graduate your payment. So in the first year as a startup, your payments are oftentimes lower than interest only. And so like you have that flexibility built in. The lease and the loan have smaller payments in your first two years and 3 years even. And that gives you the chance to get into profit. And so borrow enough money and work with the right banks that graduate your payment. Continue to work, control your wages, find a location that needs a dentist. I think that's all of them. And I'm telling you guys, like startups are scary at first, but so are acquisitions. I promise you, we could have a 2-part episode on how scary acquisitions are. So anything else to add or comment on, Paula?
No, I don't think so. I think you did a great job.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I appreciate it. Let's shut it down. But again, as a reminder, subscribe, all the things, and keep plugging into our program as we deliver topics on how to buy, how to start, and how to run your dental practice. I guess until next time, I'll talk to you later, Paula.
All right. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thanks for listening. Let us know how you like the show. Rate us on Apple and Spotify. Subscribe and follow for more.